Thank you, Senator, for coming and visiting with us today. I appreciate your comments on the bipartisan efforts and your amendment that you worked with Senator Dianne Feinstein on the indefinite protection for those civil rights, those civil liberties. Working in a bipartisan manner, just wondering if you could talk about the immigration reform effort that's going on. And we all agree the system's broken, but we've got to have a national fix. And if you could give us some direction and where you're going, I'd appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Sure. So one of the leading members of that group is Chuck Schumer, Senator from New York. I serve with Senator Schumer on the Judiciary Committee, and Senator Schumer and I have worked together on a number of pieces of legislation. Last year, we sponsored a couple of immigration-related reform bills together, and we both agreed that something needs to be done. Based on our experience with that, Chuck Schumer approached me a few months ago and invited me to be part of this Gang of Eight that he was producing. I looked forward to joining that, and he said, look, you know, I have enjoyed working with you so far. I'd like to have your participation in this process. I explained to him sort of where I come from immigration-wise, and he said, that's great. We need your perspective. I enjoyed being involved in that. I did not agree with some elements of the statement of policies that Senator Schumer and the remaining Gang of Eight put out a few weeks ago. I explained to him at great length in a couple of very lengthy, detailed conversations that I agree with 70 or 80% of what they're doing, but that there's a small part of it that I don't agree with. So there are basically four elements to this comprehensive approach. One element deals with border security. Another element deals with the need to fix legal immigration, in other words, to reform our existing visa system to make it more effective and efficient and responsive to changing economic circumstances. Another element deals with the need to come up with a Social Security card that is less susceptible to fraud than the current one that we have. And then the final element deals with, alternatively, what some people call the pathway to legalization, what others call the pathway to citizenship. I think that because there is so much room for agreement here, there is a lot we can do, especially if we'll undertake some of this a step at a time. We've learned as a country over the last few years that it's not always ideal to have to swallow the entire elephant as a whole. Sometimes it's better if you take it a bite at a time or a step at a time. We had a bill that came through a couple years ago that was a couple of thousand pages long, that some people were told you have to vote for it and pass it before you find out what's in it. That has become infamous now. But I think that serves as a warning for us for not biting off too much. My old line on this is that Washington is one of those towns where it's almost as though you're going into the grocery store and you want to buy bread, milk, and eggs. You're told you can't buy bread, milk, and eggs unless you also buy a bucket of nails, a half ton of iron ore, a book about cowboy poetry, and a Barry Manilow album. You ought to be able to do it a step at a time. And so that's what I've been urging my colleagues on the judiciary to do, is to take this one step at a time. The most important thing that we can do right away, I think, is to protect the border and perhaps even more importantly, fix the legal immigration system. We've made it so difficult for so many people to immigrate legally, and we've made it relatively easy for a lot of them to immigrate illegally. And we need to turn that around. And if we turn it around, we could start making a serious dent in the problem. I think if we start there, rather than jumping headfirst into the pathway to citizenship, I think we're going to see more progress faster.